Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is a big scam, fraudulent deeds, and special guest Anthony Forlini is here to help. Fraudulent deeds, right? Let's kick it off right on. Tony, what's going on with this, and why is this a hot topic right now?
Well, it's a hot topic, and I'll tell you why. Because the laws haven't changed in years, and there's a few problems. Technology, right? Technology. People can now just lift signatures off of a page, lift notaries off of a page, put it on another document, and
then electronically record it.
Electronically record or bring it in. Honestly, it's not. It's crazy how simple it's become, and it's because of really technology and the laws haven't kept up. I think there's really two parts to this. First you got the fraud that's going on with people that will take your deed by means of forging your signature and getting a notary that's either willing to do it, committing fraud themselves, or they
just make up a notary.
Make up a notary, do whatever. And there's, who's notarizing the notary?
Yeah.
Think about it. Who is notarizing the notary? How do you? A notary is such a special classification, but it's really.
Yeah, and even if a notary would have insurance, the insurance would not cover the notary because it would have an exclusion for fraud. And then, so there's no recourse against the notary because the notary didn't fraudulently notarize. The notary didn't do anything other than their signature was stolen. But how is this happening? People own property, let's say it's vacant, and then the perpetrator finds a buyer for the property, sells the property, gives that buyer a fraudulent deed. The buyer then thinks they own the property, and then all of a sudden there's communication between the buyer and the owner of the property, and the owner of the property says, "What are you talking about? I didn't sell my property."
Exactly. And who knows when this happens? And it's not just something nefarious like that. It could be within families, right? It could be something real simple. That's worse.
It's not just vacant properties, though. I had an 85-year-old woman who called our office, and I spoke to her, and someone sold her house out from underneath her.
While she's living there?
Yeah. I referred her to the State Attorney General's office because it wasn't something that I could do anything for her other than tell her to call the police and go to the Attorney General's office and see where they could.
We could have brought a deck action to declare the fake deed void.
Fraudulent.
At the
But
time,
that's expensive. That's a problem.
That was the real problem. There's a cost to
Being
the
defrauded.
individual who has been defrauded, and sometimes they can't afford the opportunity to take the legal process, which would be great if there was such an avenue that was more administrative than legal that would be available, especially if this is becoming more prevalent in the state.
So what is the fraud alert program? How does it?
So, and it's exactly that. Make sure you understand it's a fraud alert. That means the bad deed has happened already. So it's an alert. So somebody records a deed with us. If they're on our system and their name is in our system, we will go ahead and send the email out and say, hey, transaction happened here. But it's up to that person. They're not protected.
Unless they registered with you. And then they have to register with you to give you their email address?
With you, right.
They have
because
to-
not
they have to-
everybody is going to be listed in the system.
When I took office, we have over 300,000 deeds in Macomb County. When I took office 5 years ago, there was 1,200 people signed up for the system, and I said, well, what good is the system if nobody knows about it? So I went out and I've been promoting it, similar to what we're doing here today, to talk about this because nobody knew about it, even myself. And it took me probably 6 months of being in office before I said, I should sign this up myself, right? And so since probably, I'm going to say the last 2 years, 2.5 years, we went from about 1,200, 1,500, somewhere in that ballpark a couple of years ago to over 23,000 today. So we've really tried to market this, really try to let people be aware. I talk to jurors every day on this, about this program, and they'll sign up right on the spot. It takes all about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really simple.
Now, is Macomb County the only county that has this type of program?
No. I'm gonna say just about every county in Michigan has it, if not every county.
And nobody knows about it.
Well, yeah, you know, you don't think of these things, but now, you know, Wayne County has had a huge problem. I've talked to Bernie, the Register of Deeds there, and he's prosecuted over 400 people for deed fraud. Now, each of these people that got prosecuted didn't do a one-timer. They could have done hundreds.
So they're fraudulently creating the deeds and trying to retain the property that they're doing it on, probably, as opposed to selling it, or both?
Both. I think, you know, it's better to get out of the deal.
Yeah, I would
right?
think if you want to be the perperpetrator, you want to get in and
Yeah,
out.
get out,
But I
so-
mean, I'm not really.
You wanna hold it.
I'm not that experienced at it.
Come find me.
Right. Yeah, here I am. Arrest me.
Right.
Right, yeah, so.
There's probably a fair number of those, though, because people just don't think through
Right.
their crimes. How about a real life situation like this?
Well, I'll tell you, a situation just came across our desk just this past 2 weeks ago. It happened to be a family member. One of my cousins passed away. Their brother, who's in charge of the estate, was in contact, helping the brother out when he was going through this bad time with his health. And the woman he was living with was pleading to please get this house in my name. I mean, I'm going to be homeless if we don't do this. Well, they weren't doing it, and that wasn't going to happen. And he passes away. This is just a few weeks ago now. And come to find out through the probate process that a deed was backdated, allegedly, a couple years ago. And
From him to her.
from him to her, and it appears like it's been forged. And the notary was actually, they lost their license 10 years prior. Yet the title company still recorded it.
Because you don't verify who the notary is.
So the notary laws are the biggest culprit in this
So-
whole thing.
Well, that's the
The
interesting thing. I mean,
perpetrator, the woman, is maintaining that it's a legitimate deed? Is that
Yeah,
her-
we'll
or
see
too
what's
soon
going
to-
on. I'm going to leave it up to experts like yourself to debate
the
this.
alleged perpetrator.
The alleged,
Right.
the alleged perpetrator reminded me of Rose
Yes.
from my family story, but Rose was my grandfather's second wife, who he was dying of cancer. She was kind of a newly second wife. She was worried, well, what about me? So she didn't, nothing fraudulent. She convinced my grandfather to sign over all of his CDs shortly before he passed away. And then, so Rose ended up holding on to basically his entire estate. And Rose died 3 months after he died, leaving all of his estate to her children.
Right.
Which was did not make my parents happy.
Right.
But I was 12 years old at the time. So
Oh.
when you tell me
Yeah.
this story, I always bring up Rose.
Right. But what do you do, though? Because you get a notary. There's a list of notaries and licensed notaries. We're all notaries. So when you sign up to get a notary, you log in a signature on your card and they have it. But when you notarize something, I've never come across an experience where somebody's checking that I'm actually on the notary list. Nobody's checking the
Yeah, I mean,
signature
if you
that it's
think
the
about
notary
it,
signature.
you could have so many verifications. You could have a requirement for a notary when they're notarizing something to enter it into a database.
Right.
The notary is a very precious thing and really relied on by attorneys, by everybody, by the whole system. But it's become bastardized, if you ask me, and it's
Absolutely.
become. I'll tell you, you know, I don't know enough to know how to solve it, but why not do something like on your phone?
Two-factor authorization.
You got Google Authenticator. Why not
Yeah.
have State of Michigan Authenticator? And I'm signing it right here, and I got my number. I'm going to put that number down. That's right now. This time, I put the time on here. I know that it was my
It's
app
ea-
right there.
It's easy, and it can be funded by charging a fee to anyone that notarizes, that goes to the state to fund the cost of doing the two-factor authorization. The technology, who
It
knows,
needs to happen.
but it can be funded so easily.
And
It needs to happen.
The
Something
funny
needs
thing
to
is
happen.
that, you know, our homes are our most precious asset for most people. Yet, you can lock your credit up with TransUnion, Equifax, and TRW without even a thought. You just go online, boom, it's done, and no one can access your credit without you releasing the hold. Okay? There's no mechanism like that with real estate.
Correct.
So it's actually, I've seen online, and I've seen commercials, not in the last year, but earlier than that, where, you know, just like LifeLock.
But they won't protect your deed either.
No, well, there's another one that was advertising the same thing for the deed. And when I saw that commercial, I said, you know, if you get the paperwork and you read the contract, I guarantee you they're really insuring you for nothing with all the exclusions, because that's usually what happens, which is really what LifeLock does. You know, your $1 million policy, I would, without cremating, in my opinion, based upon my observation
I love it.
as to reading the contract, it's my instincts and guess that they've never paid a $1 million claim that they advertise. But when both of those came out, I was so negative on them. But there might possibly be a benefit, just like alerts are a benefit. But Tony, I think the two-factor authorization becomes a simple way. That eliminates the possibility of a notary being forged, because if a notary participates in the fraud, they're going to get caught.
Right.
Right.
And you know, and nothing's ever limited. There's always going to be fraud somewhere, correct? There's
Yeah.
always going to be fraud. We just have to reduce and make it tougher.
It's totally out of date.
Yeah, right now it's way out of date. And you know, to be honest, you know, legislators. I was a legislator. Who thinks about this stuff? And honestly, should the legislators be the one to legislate this, or should we have a team put together and say, all right, how are we going to fix this? Because this is a problem. Bringing in experts like yourselves or whoever the case might be, technology people, and say, hey, how do we make this work? And then put it into law.
Yeah,
Well, there's
absolutely makes
definitely
sense.
many stakeholders in it. I mean, and, you know, funding it is not so easy in the sense that, remember, for notaries to do notary work for a fee, you're only allowed to charge $10.
Well, that's old
So
too.
no, I don't mean
for
that-
those that do. But they're saying if it's
you
funded by
gotta-
the notaries,
Yeah, you change the law,
right. You have to
and then
The whole
and you
package.
allow the fee to be charged to the person who is
customer.
asking for the customer, but that doesn't go to the notary. That goes to the state to cover the cost of the two-factor authorization.
And it wouldn't be very
I mean,
expensive.
we're
It could be
creating a bill as we're
$5
talking, but-
a notary event. That would more than cover it.
I mean, if
Well,
it's $5 extra to
yeah.
notarize, it is what it is.
Right.
You know.
Listen, you know, there's warranty deeds, there's quitclaim deeds, there's different levels, right? If you want a good notary, you need to really pay for a good notary. There has to be a way of doing it because it is rampant right now, the
Yeah.
fraud.
And it does. I wouldn't limit it to deeds, because the whole purpose of a notary is verification. Why not make the verification legit? So you had a question.
Yeah, so if I were to find out that this is happening on my property, what do I do? Right? Someone knocks on my door and says, I bought your house, get out.
Yeah, don't leave, right? I don't think you would, right?
Yeah,
But
don't give them. Yeah, don't give up possession.
don't, yeah, of course not. But I mean, this is the problem. The whole system is broke because now you're putting them in a position where you've got to defend the fact that you actually own your house. And this person might be an innocent person that bought a house they thought legitimately. So it's a
Yeah.
problem. And the real problem is the person that's no longer around.
Yeah.
That sold the house on a great deal.
That person's gone. You don't get out of the house. You say to him, "This is my property. I don't know what you're talking about. You can go get a lawyer. You maintain possession, because as soon as you get out, as soon as they move into the property, then you have to file a lawsuit to get rid of them." The bigger problem is the vacant property. The vacant property, the buyer goes on and puts on a sign, "This is my property," and starts erecting a fence or building a house. And you happen to go drive by the farmland and say, "What happened?"
How did this happen?
Massive problem. Everybody have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.